And we're live.
We're live.
We're recording. Sorry.
Oh.
We're recording.
The Silver Download Extreme Streaming Edition, where everyone gets to see that we actually record like 2 hours of podcast every day, and then post like 30 minutes of it.
So last week, I think it was the July 22nd. We're recording this the 31st. So last week, a little over a week ago, they put out a blog post for the lore for Guild Wars 3, and and hinted at a bunch of things that we're going to be interacting with.
Yeah. Do you want to give a summary of that, or would you like me to?
Feel free. Go
All
ahead.
right. So, Guild Wars 3, which we're all very excited about, has to do with the guild known as the Veil Wardens during the Orion Golden Age. The Veil Wardens were the first group that the human gods bestowed some measure of magic to. They were the only humans at the time able to use any form of magic, and it was done in the form of signets, special stones that allow you to use magic in a specific way. Like each of them would have a specific power that could be used when it was activated. This was a time before magic was used by just anyone. The Elder Dragons of Guild Wars 2 fame are all deep in their slumber and for some reason not yet affecting the world. And most magic as we know it comes in the form of Veil. Spirits basically made of pure magic that sort of litter the landscape of Or. And where the game starts, signets are kind of becoming commonplace. They're sold on the black market. They brought that up especially. And the Veil Wardens have suffered defeat over defeat and are kind of seen as like the Boomer Guild clinging to a bygone era. And you get to be one of them. Congratulations. Guild Wars 3, the Boomer Wars.
Wow, rude. Yeah, I'm definitely excited because signets were very prolific in Guild Wars 1 in basically 1,000 years in the future.
We haven't gotten a lot of information about how the game works mechanically so far, other than that it's a momentum-based like action combat. One of the things they did specify is things like when you dismount from your character's mount, your speed is maintained. So I imagine just launching yourself off of your horse at enemies.
I am 100%
kind of awesome.
going to use that to fly into the air and hope there's no fall damage.
There will probably be fall damage.
I am hoping that the system is not just about momentum.
Yeah.
I know. It was very popular, but the new Spider-Man games they made for PS4 and PS5 used a lot of momentum, and it's very maneuverable, and that's great. That's a fantastic system. But in an MMO where you have latency and you have issues relating to the internet and connectivity, I feel like that's going to be difficult to do.
On that note, I want to transition us to the main topic of today's discussion, our Guild Wars 3 wish lists. In the absence of actual information about what the game looks like mechanically, we want to discuss the things we want to see most in the game. And it can be just about anything. Something mechanically, a kind of content, maybe a class, whatever it is that comes to mind. And let's Comrade, as the baby Guild Wars member of the group, the one who's played the least of the three of us, what are your let's say your 5 dream things for Guild Wars 3? It could be absolutely anything. What do you want to see in them?
I would like them to do a crossover with Warframe and add Excalibur Prime for Founders only as a playable character, just for me, and for no one else, and fuck you. No. So in actual Warframe crossover would be pretty cool, but I am just obsessed with Warframe. I would like to see, in all seriousness, an active combat system where it's not just I have 8 abilities and I'm hammering on them and just setting them all off. Like it's fun for a bit, but I got kind of bored of just spamming all my abilities in a specific order, and like
Yeah.
another thing is like building active buffs. So I made a ranger. I want to use the bow. I want to be in the back. But in order to do maximum damage with the bow, I have to switch to throwing axes and move basically up to melee distance to throw throwing axes, because each one I throw gives me might. And I need might in order to do damage, because if I don't have might, if I don't have all the stacks of might, I'm just not doing any reasonable damage whatsoever.
Yeah. On a sidetrack of that, like I do not want to see like boons in their current form from Guild Wars 2.
Yeah.
I do not want to see that at all.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of it's cool if you want to have a bunch of buffs in your game. It's not cool if I literally need all of them in order to succeed. I find that really frustrating. If you're going to give me multiple weapons to choose from, don't force me to use two specific ones and have to switch back and forth between them repeatedly. Like, let me use what I want to use. You know, I'd like to see that openness and that freedom. That's number 2. The other thing I want to see is a lighter monetization system. The amount of money. There's not a ton of really great cosmetics you earn in game. Most of the really cool stuff you have to pay for, which I'm not averse to, but it is frustrating that, like, oh hey, that's a really cool armor set. Oh, it's $80. You know, I should just be able to pick up cosmetics just for playing the game. You know, put achievements in that earn me cosmetics for my class at the very minimum. I want to see more free cosmetics that can look cool, or more earned cosmetics that can look cool.
Yes. Yeah.
And is currency that is not so expensive. If you do the conversion on Guild Wars currency, it's a lot of money. You know, when I sink $100 in, and I'm like, oh, I could afford that armor set, but I look at the currency I got for $100, and that armor set is, first off, the gloves are not available right now. They're just selling the rest of it. Mm-hmm. And if I buy all of it, it's most of the currency I just put in. It's most of the $100. Like, that's rough, you know? Helldivers 2, the Warhammer 40k War Bond is coming out. That's $20, and I can get all of that in-game by just earning it. You know? And it's not achievements, it's just there's a currency you find in the levels and you just spend it. And they make, you know, and you can go farm that intentionally, or you can just let it happen. If other people pick it up, you also get it. So it's one of those things where they're making it too much of a job, you know? And so I'd like to see them monetize a little bit better, especially given that this is a premium game that you're selling for a flat price and you're selling expansions. You shouldn't be monetizing it that hard, you know? And it's not their only game. They've got 2 other MMOs going that make good money. So it's one of those things where, I'd like to see them monetize a little bit more lightly.
I'm definitely looking forward to 3 being sort of a clean slate from that, or at least very lightly monetized. As you said, like I don't want to see the same stuff. I don't want to see the Black Lion trading post. I don't want to see it.
Yeah, if they dropped the paid expansions thing, you probably could get away with the trading post a little bit more, because they would have to come from somewhere.
I would feel a lot more comfortable with the Black Lion trading post and the way they monetize their game if the game was free. If Guild Wars 2 was free and all the expansions were free, I probably wouldn't say anything. I'd probably be like, yeah, it's a little expensive. You know, it's fine though. It's a free to play game. Like, they have to make their money somewhere. I would at least understand. But when it's, you know, what's Guild Wars 2 right now on Steam? Like, I'm just gonna pull this up live. The Guild Wars 2 Elder Dragon Saga Complete Edition, i.e., the game, okay, is $100. So it's not even everything. It's half the game.
Right, it's half the game, and then you have to spend an additional $75 extra to get the excuse me. There's 2. About $75 extra to get the last 3.
So just to have the full playable experience, we're at $175?
Yep.
Like, that is not cheap. That is a lot of money.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, and then I come in and you want $80 for an outfit. Like, okay, so now if I buy one outfit, we're now at $270 or $250. That's a lot. That's a lot of money to get into the game. Whereas, I don't mean to compare everything to Warframe. It's my main game. I apologize for being the Warframe shill. But I go to the Warframe page and I hit play game and I get all of the expansions, all of the battle passes, all of the living content, all the events for free. It's all right there. And then I can decide to buy cosmetics later if I want to, or I can engage with the trading system. And there's individual mods you can get that are 150 platinum. And 150 platinum will buy you a cosmetic. Not any cosmetic you want. You'd have to earn a little bit more than that. But if you can sell, 8 of those, you can get any cosmetic in the game you want. You can get packs for 475 that give you a full playable Warframe, a costume for it, a weapon, a skin for that weapon for 475. So it's one of those things where they really need to work on the monetization level for Guild Wars 3. For me, at least, I would like to see them make it a lot more accessible. I know it's sort of unfair to compare everything to Warframe because Warframe is the exception, not the rule, but it should be the rule. Yeah, it's tough. The another thing I really want to see from Guild Wars 3 is and this goes right back to not selling the cosmetics or the expansions individually, is don't fracture your player base. Yep. It's one of the biggest mistakes you can make in a modern MMO is don't fracture your player base. I've been playing, I haven't been on it in a little bit, but I've been playing Destiny 2 again because I have friends who want to play it with me before it's well and truly dead. So I've been getting on it a little bit, but there's a bunch of stuff they're doing that's in the expansion I don't have, which is Edge of Fate, and I'm not going to buy it because I don't want to buy it. So that means there's just a bunch of stuff that I can't do with them. So we're just split from that unless somebody coughs up the money. It's not a good strategy.
One of the things that I agree with you on this is Guild Wars 2 definitely is fractured. There's a lot of people, especially with the way the pricing of the expansions and stuff are and all of that. Like, if you just get the base game and the first 3 expansions, even $100, like that's a huge investment.
I actually agree with the not fracturing the player base thing. I do think that locking the entire areas behind the expansions is a bad idea now. What I guess I should say, because we're not on my list yet, it would be better. Like, imagine if when Visions of Eternity came out, you could go to that area without having played without having bought the expansion. But imagine like the campaign for that expansion and like the raid that came with it, you have to pay for. But going to the maps, checking them out, participating in the events, maybe the elite spec as well, because locking classes behind a paywall I don't like
Feels
that.
Bad. Feels
you know
bad,
what I mean?
Yeah.
Let me play the new elite spec and check out the new maps, and I'll pay you for the story and to do the endgame content if I'm interested in that. You know what I mean? That way, at least I can go with my friends to the new area. And if I want to check out the story and see why this place is so important, then you can take my money. But that way, at the very least, if I don't care about the story, I can still come play the new stuff with you, and the player base isn't necessarily fractured.
Yeah, in Guild Wars 2, a lot of the places we go to are narratively driven, and the way we get there is through the narrative, which again, in some regard, I respect and understand, but at the same time, if the story stops and then you get a thing that says, hey, continue your story for $25.99 or $24.99. That's where we're drawing the bubble and going,
Well, that's actually not too terrible, I think. Because you're right, they do have every expansion, going to Cantha, going to Soto, and all of that usually has an opening quest. The Visions of Eternity, you have to sail to the island, and then you get that. So I don't have a problem with making that intro, because think about it. This is how you hook players into the story. You give them a piece of it and go, hey, isn't that kind of neat? Isn't that interesting? You want to find out what happens next? Purchase the full expansion. That's not an uncommon practice. Doom, back in the 90s, did this. The first episode, or the first couple of missions were free, and then you could buy the full game to see the rest. Destiny did this. When a new expansion came out, you could play the first mission to unlock the area, and then you had to pay for the rest of the expansion. That's not a bad idea.
I think that's a terrible idea, personally. I get how it's a good idea from trying to sell a product, but I can tell you, when I log into my favorite MMO, if I ever log into Warframe, and they have me play the Lotus Eaters, and I get to walk down through. Oh, hey, look, here's the mall, and then they go, all right, pay us $20. Oh, you're gonna hear me bitch about that. I'm gonna be like, that's bullshit. Like I don't tease me, you know.
All right, Shaggun, you're next.
You want me to
Check
go
on your next list.
Okay.
Go,
All
go,
right.
go.
So, number 1, no classes, no professions, none of it. So, the reason for that, and I thought of this when I was reading the article, is they talk about how magic was given to the humans initially where we're at in the form of signets. So imagine, instead of having a class, these signets have different things like here's my rage ability, here's a fireball, that kind of thing, and have equipment slots for signets, and you kind of pick the ones that suit your playstyle the best and sort of build your own class.
So you're kind of taking my number 1 too. So fuck you.
So we're in agreement on that. That would be a cool idea.
As the baby Guild Wars player here, I have a thought on what Shadgun just said. Do you mind if I just interject that thought?
Yeah,
really
go
quickly?
for it.
So I ordinarily, the problem with removing a class system is you remove player identity. Because it's kind of fun to be able to get in the game and be like, I'm Shadgun, the Blade Sworn, and I'm sworn to my blade because I blade swear. I swear at people with my sword. And that's a cool thing where you know, you guys know me as an Excalibur player in Warframe. Like, I'm an Excalibur guy, you know what I mean? And that's like a cool identity thing. But something that could be interesting, if the system went the way that you just suggested, and it's kind of an interesting thought. If the system went that way, where you sort of customize where, you know, what you are, and you sort of pick what your role is by just combining the different things you want, it allows your guild to be your player identity, which would be a pretty neat return to form for Guild Wars, because I'm going to tell you, as much as I like the whole you can be in multiple guilds thing in Guild Wars 2, it kind of cheapens the identity of guilds.
Yes.
You know?
So
I think that'd be really interesting.
Hopefully in Guild Wars 3 we're tied to the Veil Wardens, but
you're part of a guild.
We're part of a guild. We're actually in a guild for this one, guys. I hope it's more impactful than just, oh well, this is just, you know, the group that you're tied to. I like the idea of being in a classless system to be able to customize how I want to do things. I would love to be the guy that goes, hey, I'm in heavy armor, but guess what? I can also cast Fireball.
And I would love to see like a more open system where you design your own class like that.
Yeah.
That would be really, really interesting to see.
Yep.
But the issue becomes, do you make your content more structured? Because then you have to kind of have that person who's the healer, that person who's the damage dealer, that person who's the tank.
I think we're going. I don't think we're going to get roles. I think Guild Wars 2 and ArenaNet as a whole really don't like the holy trinity of tank, DPS, healer, despite the raid mechanics and all that stuff. That's a specific part of Guild Wars 2.
The number 2 for me is I want a change to the weapon swapping system. Now, initially, I thought I wanted to get rid of it altogether. I usually only use one weapon set in the game anyways, but I thought about it in an action system. There's a way to change this that works. I know in 2 right now, most people's builds are set up to switch between your 2 weapon sets in order to maximize damage. In a game where movement is more important, I can see having a couple weapon sets to adapt to changing situations. You like using your bow, for example, comrade. What happens if you get ambushed and you're surrounded by 10 guys? In that case, you can switch to your axes for a different playstyle to deal with the melee threat right in front of you until you can get away and switch to your bow. Rather than having to constantly switch between the 2 for damage, it's just a different setup.
Well, that is how having multiple weapons works in basically every game except for Guild Wars 2.
Yeah.
When you in Darktide, I have a rifle and I have a sword, and depending on how close the enemies are, I choose which tool I'm going to use, and that's how it should be. That was my main complaint with it, is that I have to switch to axes and throw a bunch of axes, because if I don't, my bow damage sucks, and that doesn't make any sense.
The other thought I had regarding weapons, and the last one before I moved to part 3, is weapons that are useful against specific enemy types. D&D is a good example, or older D&D is a good example of this. Imagine, for instance, skeletons who don't take a lot of damage from a sword being swung at them because it's not like you have a vital organ you can cut, but crumble when you smack them with a hammer. So imagine carrying a couple different weapons to deal with different types of foes. Bring in something like that so you have a decent reason to carry a couple different weapons just in case would make the weapon swapping system more interesting. And your weapon setup could tie into the signets too. For instance, my sword is just does slashing damage, but with this signet attached to me, now it does fire damage. And I could keep a couple of those to exploit enemy elemental weaknesses if I have to.
I have a feeling we're gonna get something similar to that, more so than a slashing, bludgeoning, piercing triangle.
My third one, and I'm probably gonna get. You're probably not going to agree with me on this, but this is again tied to the lore we've had so far, is I don't want multiple playable races. I want us to go back to humans only.
No, fuck you. No. You shut up.
I don't think we're getting that.
Don't give ideas.
I will counter that by saying I would rather have playable races that are not intrinsically tied to the plot and lock you out of other options of narrative design.
So the reason I bring that up is because the plot that they've shown us so far makes a big deal out of, well, Or was a human city, first of all, and it's where we're going. The other part is that the magic from the signets and all that explicitly came from the human gods. So there's a big emphasis on humans being an important plot point, or this is also not long after humans came to Tyria in the first place, because humans were not native to that world. We were invaders, and I mean that in the literal sense. We kicked a lot of species that are now extinct out of their homes. Yes. So humans coming in and taking over everything, and their gods bestowing them with the first forms of magic that most sentient beings can use, kind of leans toward the idea that this would be a human-focused story, kind of like Guild Wars 1 was. So it would not surprise me at all to see humans being the only playable race. Number 4. I want to see them do more dungeon content, but not in the traditional way. I don't want the hallway of enemies with a boss at the end like a lot of MMOs do now. Guild Wars 2 has a really cool system for dungeons, and they basically abandoned it after vanilla. And it was this idea that you go in the first time and there's a plot for it, right? And then you can go back and there's the explorable path. So imagine going to a dungeon and you have your quest to go there the first time, which unlocks it. And then you can find maybe there are doors and areas that you can't access the first time you go there, but you can get other quests that make you return to those dungeons and you take different paths through it. Make the vanilla have like 5 or 6 dungeons, but it feels like 30 because you can revisit them and go in different areas. Maybe there's like a roguelike mode where you go to them and it mix and matches the paths, so you find... give me a reason to visit the same dungeon 10 times.
I would like to see randomized dungeons where they similar to Soulframe, where they make a bunch of tiles and it puts together a random dungeon every time you go in.
Yes. More instance style content.
So I like the idea of both. I'd want if we are going to a dungeon, I want the narrative to be there. The first time through, fine. The second time through, or every time after that, even, give us that randomization. Give us the option, or even better, give us the option to have it randomized.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you want, you could theoretically have your cake and eat it too. You could do explorable paths like in Guild Wars 2, but you could also say maybe have an option that says, okay, you've played through the explorable paths, here's the random path. Here's everything you've seen in this dungeon so far, every mechanic just gets stirred together, and you might see a boss that has the ability from the first path, but is also as strong as the third path, or something like that.
Astral, do you want to cover a couple of yours that I didn't already cover, if there's anything different? Just so that you have a chance to talk about it too, because I don't want to leave you out. Is there
Yeah,
anything I didn't already bring up?
I think I've sort of melded myself into your guys's enough.
Okay.
Coming from a lore perspective, personally, I think putting us after fighting Doom and the deposing of Doom is a personal thing. Would have loved to see that. Maybe we get that as a intro cinematic. I'd be okay with that. But like, I'd like to see where we go with the lore, because I personally wouldn't have set this in the past. I would have loved to see what the future holds. But this is also becoming a very interesting place.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of stuff that can happen and has been mentioned to have happened.
Yes. The issue with setting it in the future would be that they're still making Guild Wars 2 stuff, so they would kind of...
Yeah.
It would be too easy to write themselves into a hole where they have to make sure any future Guild Wars 2 stuff doesn't break any of the plot in their future set 3.
One of the things I've also heard is that the Asuran tech at that point in the future is basically a sci-fi game.
Yeah, it would go from Guild Wars to Star Wars before too long, and they probably want to avoid that. Going backwards means we can get rid of the futuristic stuff to some degree.
Yeah. I definitely am very curious to see what sort of customization we're gonna get. I want as many die channels as possible from the start of the goddamn game. You hear it here first, ArenaNet. Give me everything.
He wants.
I want my
Fashion Wars 3.
No. I want my weapons dyeable. I want my boot buckles dyeable. I want the buttons on my shirt to be dyeable. If
weapons dyeable would be a great thing. I agree. That's a big thing.
If you give me that and like a color picker, I will buy anything you tell me. Like,
give me overcomplicated dye schemes and my life is yours.
I definitely want to see a lot of like quality of life stuff from Guild Wars 2. I know it's going to be a new game for Guild Wars 3, but like I don't want us to have to. I know it's a developmental time thing and all of that, but I don't want us to have to wait months and sometimes years for quality of life updates.
All right. So it sounds like there's a lot of expectations for it, or a lot of things we hope for Guild Wars 3. I'm looking forward to seeing more news about this game in the future. They have said that the beta for this is going to be in fall of 2027, so we've got a year and plenty of time for them to tell us more. And we'll come back around to this as we get new information. I'm sure we're going to have a lot more hype to build around this for the future. And that, I think, wraps up this episode.